The sky over New York filled with light. It was not the sun or the moon. It was something else, something alien. The strange ship hung in the air, bigger than any building humans had ever made. It did not attack. It just waited. World leaders met in emergency talks. Armies around the globe went on high alert. People looked up at the sky and wondered if this was the end. Then the message came. It was in perfect English, and in every other human language too. We come in peace. We are the Galactic Council. We wish to talk. 3 days later, Dr. Han Jun stood in a room with the world's most powerful people. He was not a soldier or a politician. He was a man who understood languages and people. That's why they chose him. Dr. Han, said the president, you will lead our team to meet these aliens. Find out what they want. Be friendly, but careful. Han nodded. I understand. I'll need a small team. Choose who you need, the president said. Han picked 2 people. Captain Kim Ta, a smart military man with sharp eyes who never trusted anything too easily, and Dr. Park Sun, a woman who knew more about cultures and societies than anyone else on Earth. 1 week later, they stood on a landing pad as a small alien ship came down from the big one. Remember, Han told his team, we represent all humans now. Be polite. Watch everything. The ship's door opened. Out stepped a tall being with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. It wore something like a robe with strange symbols. I am High Counselor Trellis, it said in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. I welcome you to the first day of Earth's new future. Han stepped forward. I am Dr. Han Jun of Earth. We are honored to meet you. Trellis made a gesture with its upper arms. The honor is ours. Your world has been watched for some time. You have reached the development stage where contact is permitted. Captain Kim Ta stood stiffly beside Han. His hand never moved far from his sidearm. Watched for how long? He asked. Trellis turned all 4 of its strange eyes toward Kim. Your species has been in our records for over 300 of your years. We watch all developing worlds. Dr. Park Sun spoke next. And what is the purpose of the Galactic Council? Peace, progress, protection, Trellis said. We unite over 200 species across this arm of the galaxy. We share technology, culture, and security. Han noticed how Trellis always said we and never I. And you want Earth to join? Han asked. That is why we have come, Trellis confirmed. Your world stands at a crossroads. You have advanced far enough to be noticed by others in the galaxy. Not all are as friendly as the Council. You offer protection, Kim Ta said. It wasn't a question. Among many benefits, Trellis replied. Medical technology that could end all human disease. Energy systems that would solve your climate crisis, faster than light travel. And what does Earth give in return? Han asked. Trellis made a sound like water running over stones. Perhaps it was laughter. Your unique biological perspective, access to your world's resources, your partnership in council matters. Han looked at his team. Park Sun seemed excited by the possibilities. Kim Ta looked suspicious. This is not a decision we can make today, Han said. We would need to observe the council in action. Learn more. Of course, Trellis said. We invite your team to visit the council station. See how we operate. Meet other species. Then you can report back to your leaders. Han nodded. We accept your invitation. Excellent, Trellis said. The first step in a journey that will transform your world forever. As they walked toward the alien ship, Kim Ta whispered to Han, I don't like how easily they speak our languages. How long have they really been watching us? Han had the same question, but he kept his face calm as they entered the ship that would take them to the stars. The trip through space took 3 days. Han, Kim, and Park spent most of that time looking out the windows at the stars. None of them had ever been in space before. We are approaching the council station, Trellis announced one morning. They rushed to the windows. What they saw made them all gasp. The station was not a ship or a building. It was as big as a small moon. It spun slowly in the light of a blue-white star. Hundreds of ships moved around it like bees around a hive. "That's impossible," Park whispered. "The council station houses representatives from over 200 worlds," Trellis explained. "It is the center of galactic civilization in this sector." Their small ship docked at one of the many ports. When the doors opened, the humans got their first look at the inside of the station. The ceiling was so high they could not see it. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked, slithered, or floated through wide halls. Some were tall and thin. Others were short and wide. Some had many arms. Others had none at all. "Stay close," Han told his team. "Remember why we're here." Trellis took them on a tour. They saw gardens with plants from 100 worlds. They visited markets where strange items were sold and bought. They watched ships come and go from a giant window. "This technology is far beyond anything we have on Earth," Park said, her eyes wide. "It could be ours if we join them," Han replied. But Kim Ta was looking at other things. He noticed how some alien species stepped aside when Trellis walked past. He saw guards with weapons at every door, and he spotted what looked like prison cells in one section they passed. "Not everything is as perfect as it seems," he whispered to Han. Later, they attended a council meeting. Hundreds of aliens sat in rows that rose high above a central floor. Trellis took a seat near the front. The humans were given seats in the back. "The small ones sit far from power," Kim noted. Han watched as various aliens stood to speak. Some seemed angry. Others seemed afraid. But the largest aliens always had the final word. During a break, Park met an alien named Niv. It was small, with red skin and large eyes. "Your first time at council?" Niv asked in broken English. "Yes," Park replied. "Your people are members." Niv's large eyes blinked slowly. "For 300 years, since the council found our world." "Found? You didn't contact them first." "Council finds most worlds," Niv said. "Few find council." Park frowned. "Has membership been good for your people?" Niv looked around nervously. "We survive. Council takes much. Give some." Before Park could ask more, Trellis appeared. "Dr. Park, I see you've met Niv. Come, there is more to show you." As they walked away, Park looked back at Niv, who turned all four eyes to the floor. That night, the humans met in their room to talk. "Something isn't right here," Kim said. "Did you see how the smaller species are treated?" Park nodded. "Niv said the council takes much, gives some. That doesn't sound like an equal partnership." "I've been granted access to the council archives tomorrow," Han said. "Maybe I can learn more about how they really treat new members." "Be careful," Kim warned. "I counted at least 50 security points just on our tour today. And those guards aren't just for show." Han looked out the window at the stars. Earth seemed very far away now. "We need to know the truth," he said, "before Earth makes a decision it can't take back." Han walked alone through the quiet halls of the council archives. The room was huge, with data screens that reached from floor to ceiling. A small alien with 6 arms helped him search. "I would like to see records of new worlds joining the council," Han said. "Of course," the alien replied, tapping at a screen. "Any specific world?" "Perhaps Niv's homeworld," Han suggested, remembering Park's conversation. The alien's eyes narrowed slightly. "Planet Kiva. An interesting choice." Han watched as images appeared on the screen. They showed a beautiful green world with 3 moons. Then more images came. Large mining operations, empty forests, and polluted rivers. "What happened here?" Han asked, trying to sound only mildly interested. "Resource extraction," the alien said flatly. "Kiva had rare minerals needed by the council. Progress requires sacrifice." Han felt cold. And the Kivan people agreed to this. The alien made a sound like short laughter. Agreement comes in many forms. Later that day, Han found his team and pulled them into an empty room. "I found something," he whispered, looking around to make sure they were alone. The Council has a classification system for worlds. Earth is listed as a resource-rich developing world with exploitable biological assets. What does that mean? Park asked. It means we're not potential partners. We're potential property, Han said. Kim nodded grimly. I knew something was wrong. While you were in the archives, I did some exploring of my own. Those ships we saw, they're not just for defense. They're positioned for invasion. Could you be wrong? Park asked. I studied military positions my whole career, Kim said. Those ships are in attack formation, not defensive positions. Han pulled out a small device he had hidden in his sleeve. I copied some files. Look at this. They watched as the screen showed Council ships around other worlds, then troops landing, then resources being loaded onto ships. This has happened dozens of times, Han said. A world is invited to join. If they accept, they lose control of their resources. If they hesitate, they're invaded, Kim finished. I need to find Niv, Park said. He might tell us more. Later, Park found Niv working in one of the station's gardens. She pretended to admire the plants while they talked. Your world, she said quietly. What really happened when you joined the Council? Niv looked around nervously. They came with smiles and promises. They left with our minerals and water. Now my people work in Council mines and factories. Did you fight back? We tried, Niv said. But by then, Council ships were already in our skies. Council advisors were already in our government. Niv's eyes looked wet. We didn't know until it was too late. That night, the three humans met again in their room. We need to leave, Han said. Now we know the truth. Can we trust the Council ship to take us home? Park asked. Kim shook his head. I don't think so. But I noticed some independent traders in the docking bay. If we could hire one. With what? Park asked. We didn't bring anything to trade. Han reached into his pocket and pulled out a small gold Earth coin. This. Gold is rare in the galaxy. I heard traders talking about it. 1 coin might be enough. Then we go home, Kim said, and warn Earth. What if they don't believe us? Park asked. Han held up the small device with the stolen files. They'll believe this. The Council's own records showing what they've done to other worlds. And what they plan to do to Earth, Kim added. They looked at each other, understanding the weight of what they had discovered and what it meant for their world. We leave tomorrow, Han said. No one can know what we've learned. Han, Kim, and Park stood before the United Nations Security Council. The room was silent after they finished speaking. On a large screen behind them, the evidence they had brought back from the Council station played in a loop. So this Galactic Council wants to strip our planet of resources, said the Secretary General finally. Yes, Han replied. They've done it before to many worlds. But their technology, said another leader. Think what we could learn from them. Kim stepped forward. At what cost? Look at Niv's world. They got technology, but lost everything else. The room broke into loud argument. Some leaders wanted the benefits the Council offered. Others feared the danger Han's team had uncovered. Enough, shouted the Secretary General. Dr. Han, how long do we have to decide? The Council expects our answer in 1 week, Han said. High Councilor Trellis is waiting in orbit right now. The Secretary General nodded. Then we have 1 week to make the most important decision in human history. For the next 7 days, Earth's leaders met in secret. Han's team shared everything they had learned. World leaders argued late into each night. Their medical technology could save millions of lives, said one. Their ships could help us spread to other stars, said another. But we would not be free, Kim reminded them. We would be servants, not partners. On the 5th day, Dr. Park brought Niv's recorded message. The small alien's sad eyes filled the screen as it described how its world had been slowly taken over. First they offered help, Niv said. Then they demanded payment. Then they took control. Now we cannot even visit our sacred mountains without council permission. Some leaders still wanted to join. The promise of advanced technology was too tempting. What if we join, but stay alert? One suggested. We could learn from them, then break away when we're stronger. Han shook his head. The council would place their people in our governments, our military, our schools. They would control information. By the time we wanted to break free, it would be too late, just as it was for Niv's people. On the final day, Han stood before the world's leaders one last time. I have studied the council's records, he said. In 500 years, no world that joined has ever become truly equal. The strong use the weak. The big control the small. That is their way. And if we refuse, asked the Secretary General. They might attack, Kim admitted, but they might not. No world has ever refused membership before. This would be new territory for them too. The room fell silent again. Then an old leader stood up slowly. I lived through wars and saw what happens when my people were not free, she said. I would rather fight standing up than live forever on my knees. One by one, other leaders stood. We vote now, said the Secretary General. Will Earth join the Galactic Council? The vote was counted, then counted again to be sure. It is decided, the Secretary General announced. By unanimous vote, Earth declines membership in the Galactic Council. Han felt both proud and afraid. Proud of his world for choosing freedom, afraid of what might come next. Dr. Han, the Secretary General said, you brought us this truth. Now you must deliver our answer to the Council. Han nodded. I will, but they will not like what I have to say. No one has ever told them no before, Kim said. Then it's time someone did, Park replied. As they left the room, Han wondered if Earth had just made the bravest decision in human history, or the last one. The council chamber was packed. Aliens from 200 worlds sat in the curved rows that rose high toward the ceiling. At the center of the room stood a single podium. Behind it, the council leaders sat on tall chairs, looking down at everyone else. High Counselor Trellis was in the middle chair. The four-armed alien looked confident. After all, no world had ever said no before. Han walked into the chamber with Kim and Park behind him. All eyes turned to watch them. Some aliens whispered to each other. Others leaned forward to get a better look at the humans. Representatives of Earth, Trellis said in a loud voice, we welcome you back to the council. Have you brought your world's answer? Han stepped up to the podium. His heart beat fast, but he kept his face calm. High Counselor Trellis, members of the Galactic Council, he began. Earth has carefully considered your invitation. The room was completely silent now. Every alien was watching. Earth thanks you for your offer, Han continued. We are honored by your attention. We recognize the great knowledge and technology the Council controls. Trellis nodded, looking pleased. The alien clearly expected the usual answer. However, Han said, his voice growing stronger, Earth must decline membership at this time. The silence broke. Aliens shouted in different languages. Some stood up. Others banged on their seats. Trellis's four eyes widened in shock. Silence. Trellis shouted, but the noise continued. Han waited. He had expected this reaction. Finally, the room quieted down. Perhaps you do not understand what you are giving up, Trellis said. The Council offers protection, technology, knowledge. We understand completely, Han replied. We also understand what we would lose. And what might that be? Trellis asked coldly. Our freedom, Han said simply. Our right to choose our own path. Our control over our own world and resources. Now the room erupted again. Some aliens shouted angrily. But Han noticed others watching with what looked like respect, or even hope. Earth values its independence, Han continued when the noise died down. We wish to develop at our own pace, make our own choices, and keep control of our own resources. This is unprecedented, Trellis said. No world has ever refused council membership. Then perhaps it is time for a new precedent, Han replied. Trellis stood up, all four arms raised. You do not understand the consequences of this decision. There are dangers in the galaxy that Earth cannot face alone. We are prepared to take that risk, Han said. Are you? Trellis asked, leaning forward. The Council's protection fleet is already in your system. Without membership, they have no reason to stay. Kim stepped forward to stand beside Han. Is that a threat, High Counselor? Trellis's skin changed color slightly. Simply a statement of fact, Captain Kim. The universe is dangerous for isolated worlds. Park joined them at the podium. Earth chooses to face those dangers on our own terms. For a moment, no one spoke. Then an alien near the back of the room began to clap its hands together. Then another joined in, and another. Soon, dozens were making sounds of approval. Trellis slammed a hand down. Enough. Earth has made its choice, foolish as it may be. The alien turned to Han. You should return to your world immediately. The Council must discuss this unexpected development. Han bowed slightly. Thank you for your understanding. As they turned to leave, Han saw anger on many alien faces, but he also saw something else on others, something that looked like hope and envy. Move quickly, Kim whispered. I don't think we want to be here when they start really talking about this. The three humans hurried from the chamber, the sounds of argument growing louder behind them. As soon as the humans left, the council chamber exploded into chaos. Trellis banged a large metal rod against the floor 3 times. The sound echoed through the room. Emergency session, Trellis shouted. All non-council members must leave now. The room slowly emptied until only 50 of the most powerful aliens remained. These were the true rulers of the council, the ones who made the real decisions. They sat in a tight circle. This has never happened before, said a tall, thin alien with gray skin. No world has ever rejected us. The humans know something, said another with 6 eyes. They must have discovered our true purpose. Trellis paced in the center of the circle. How much did they learn? How much did they access in our archives? A small alien with a large head spoke up. Our security systems show that Dr. Han accessed files on resource extraction and new member processing. He also viewed records of planet Kiva. Kiva, Trellis hissed. That troublesome little world. And now the humans know what happened there. But this is worse than just knowing, said the 6-eyed alien. They acted on that knowledge. They said no. If other worlds hear about this, no one needed to finish that thought. They all knew what it meant. We have 3 problems to solve, Trellis said. First, what to do about Earth. Second, how to keep this rejection quiet. Third, what to tell the overseers. At the mention of the overseers, the room grew very quiet. Not even the council leaders spoke of them often. I say we attack now, said a large, muscular alien with red skin. Show other worlds what happens when they defy us. Too risky, argued another. Earth might be more dangerous than we thought. They saw through our lies when no one else has. We could block their system, suggested a third. No ships in or out. Let them sit alone until they beg to join. As they argued, news was already spreading through the station. Servants and workers who had heard the human speech told others. Soon the rumor of Earth's rejection raced from level to level. On the lower decks, Niv heard the news and smiled for the first time in years. In the diplomacy sector, representatives from smaller worlds whispered to each other with wide eyes. In the military wing, generals and admirals pulled up maps of Earth's solar system and began making plans. Back in the council chamber, the debate grew heated. The humans cannot be allowed to spread their ideas, shouted the red-skinned alien. Independence, self-determination. These are dangerous concepts. But attacking them directly might make them martyrs, said a calmer voice. That could be worse. Trellis raised all 4 arms for silence. We will take a balanced approach. First, a blockade of Earth's system. Nothing in, nothing out. Second, we spread stories that Earth is dangerous, unstable, not ready for galactic society. Third, we send observers to watch them closely. And if they resist, asked the six-eyed alien. Then we move to more direct action. Trellis said coldly, but quietly. We cannot let other worlds see Earth as an example to follow. As the council leaders nodded in agreement, a young aide rushed into the room. The alien looked nervous. "High Counselor, we have a problem," the aide said. "News of Earth's rejection has reached the lower levels. Workers from 12 worlds are refusing their duties. They're demanding to know why Earth was allowed to say no." Trellis's skin darkened with anger. Contain this news. Now. But it was too late. The idea of saying no to the council was already spreading like fire. Back on Earth, Han, Kim, and Park stepped off their ship to find the world had changed. Soldiers stood guard at every airport. Factories worked day and night. People looked up at the sky with worry in their eyes. General Li Jin met them at the landing pad. He was tall and serious, with short gray hair and a strong face. "Welcome home," he said. "The world has been busy while you were delivering our message." "What's happening?" Han asked, as they walked to a waiting car. "We're getting ready," Li said. "Every nation has joined the Earth Defense Force. I'm in charge of it now." The car took them to a large underground base. Screens showed pictures of space. People in uniforms rushed back and forth. "We spotted council ships entering our system yesterday," Li explained. "They're keeping their distance, but they're watching us." "A blockade," Kim said, "just as we feared." "We're not sitting still," Li assured them. "Every scientist on Earth is working on new technology. Every factory is making ships and weapons. We're preparing for whatever comes next." Park looked at all the activity. "How much time do we have?" "Not enough," Li admitted. "But we have something the council doesn't expect." "What's that?" Han asked. Li smiled. "Human stubbornness. And this." He led them into a room where a strange ship sat. It didn't look like any Earth ship they had seen before. "Where did that come from?" Kim asked, walking around it slowly. "It arrived 3 days ago," Li said. "Piloted by aliens who heard about our stand against the council. They brought technology and information. They want to help." "Who are they?" Park asked. "Rebels from worlds the council controls. They've been fighting in secret for years. Now they see Earth as a new hope." Han touched the ship's smooth side. "We're not alone." "No," Li agreed. "And more are coming. Each day brings new allies." In another part of the base, Park met with aliens from different worlds. They shared stories of council control and dreams of freedom. Park recorded everything, building a library of council crimes. "Your world is brave," said one alien with blue skin and long fingers. "You've given many others courage." Meanwhile, Kim worked with military leaders to plan Earth's defense. They studied the technology their new allies brought. They built new weapons and shields. "We can't match their numbers," Kim told his team. "But we can surprise them with how quickly we learn." And Han traveled the world, speaking to people about what was coming. He didn't hide the danger, but he also shared hope. For the first time, he told crowds, worlds are standing together, not because they're forced to, but because they choose to. That makes us stronger than the Council can imagine. In space, Council ships moved closer to Earth. They stopped all traffic in and out of the solar system, but they didn't attack. Not yet. On the edge of the system, hidden behind Jupiter's large moon, small ships gathered. Rebels from a dozen worlds met in secret. They shared plans and prepared to help Earth when the time came. General Li stood in the command center, looking at a screen that showed Earth from space. It looked so small and blue against the blackness. "Are we ready?" Han asked, coming to stand beside him. "No," Li said honestly, "but we're as ready as we can be." "And our new friends?" "In position, waiting for the Council to make its move." Han nodded. Then all we can do now is wait, and hope the Council isn't ready for what humanity can do when pushed too far. 3 weeks after Earth's rejection, the Council made its move. 50 large ships jumped into Earth's space just beyond the moon. They formed a half-circle, all weapons pointing toward the blue planet. In the underground command center, alarms sounded. General Lee rushed to the main screen. Han, Kim, and Park joined him. "They're here," Lee said. "More ships than we expected." Kim studied the screen. "That's not their full fleet. They're testing us." A message came through on all Earth channels. High Counselor Trellis appeared on the screen, all 4 arms held wide. "People of Earth," Trellis said, "you have been missiled by your leaders. The Council only wishes to help your world. We bring peace and prosperity. Reject the lies you have been told. Accept our rule, and no harm will come to your planet." Lee looked at Han. "Do we respond?" "Yes," Han said, "but not just with words." Lee nodded and gave an order. Around the world, hidden launch sites opened. 100 small ships rose into the sky. They looked simple on the outside, but carried technology from Earth's new alien allies. On the screen, Trellis's eyes widened in surprise. "Earth has spaceships," the alien said, not hiding its shock. "Earth has many surprises," Han replied, stepping into view of the camera. "We suggest you remove your fleet from our system." Trellis made a harsh sound. "Your primitive vessels are no match for Council power. You have 1 Earth day to surrender, or we will demonstrate that power." The screen went dark. Kim turned to Lee. "Are the special weapons ready?" "As ready as they'll ever be," Lee replied. "We've only had 3 weeks to build them." "And our friends?" Han asked. Park checked another screen. "In position behind Jupiter, ready to move when needed." For the next 24 hours, Earth waited. People around the world watched the sky. Some prayed. Others prepared for the worst. But no one suggested giving in. When the deadline passed, the Council ships began to move closer to Earth. They spread out to surround the planet. "They're taking attack positions," Kim said, "just like I saw at other worlds." Lee pressed a button. "All ships, activate Defense Pattern 1. Earth's ships moved too, forming 3 rings around the planet. "Now we see if our new shields work," Lee said. The Council ships fired first. Beams of energy shot toward Earth. But before they could hit, the shields flared to life. The energy splashed against them like water on glass. "Shields holding," someone shouted. Lee nodded to Kim. "Your turn, Captain." Kim gave an order, and Earth's ships fired. Not energy beams, but small, fast missiles. They moved in strange patterns, hard to track. The Council ships tried to shoot them down but missed many. When the missiles hit, they didn't explode. Instead, they attached to the Council ships and sent out pulses that made the ship's systems shut down. "The disruption technology works," Kim said with a smile. The rebels were right. 3 Council ships went dark, floating helplessly in space. The others backed away, surprised by Earth's unknown weapons. Then new ships appeared at the edge of the battle. Fast, small ships that didn't look like Earth vessels. They attacked the Council from behind. "Our allies have arrived," Park said. On the main screen, Trellis appeared again. The alien looked angry and confused. "What is this?" Trellis demanded. "Who are these other ships?" "Friends of Earth," Han replied calmly. "Worlds that have suffered under Council rule. You thought we were alone. We are not." The battle continued for another hour. More Council ships lost power. Others took damage. None of Earth's defenses failed. Finally, the remaining Council ships began to pull back. They gathered into a tight group and then jumped away, leaving their disabled ships behind. In the command center, people cheered. But Lee, Han, Kim, and Park didn't join them. They knew this was just the beginning. "They'll be back," Lee said, "with more ships." "Yes," Han agreed. "But now the whole galaxy will know that someone finally stood up to the Council." and won. News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The Council tried to keep it secret, but too many had seen it. Too many knew the truth. 2 months after the battle, ships began to arrive at Earth. Not Council ships, but vessels from dozens of worlds. Some were small and battered. Others were sleek and well-built. All came with the same message: we want to be free too. Han stood in a large room that had been built just for this purpose. Around him sat representatives from 37 different worlds. Some looked almost human. Others were as different from humans as it was possible to be. But all watched him with hope in their eyes. Earth did not seek to become a leader in galactic affairs, Han said. We only wanted to remain free. But now we see that freedom is something many worlds desire. Park stood nearby, translating for those who didn't speak Earth languages. Kim watched from the back, still cautious about so many aliens in one place. The Council has ruled through fear and lies for too long, Han continued. They take resources from worlds that need them. They control people who should be free. We believe it's time for something new. An alien with green skin and 4 eyes stood up. What do you propose, Earth Speaker? Han smiled at the new title. We propose the Galactic Confederation of Independent Worlds, a true partnership where all members are equal, where no world can take from another without fair payment, where each species decides its own path. The room filled with sounds as the aliens talked among themselves. Some nodded. Others made gestures Han didn't understand. The Council is strong, said another alien. They have ruled for thousands of years. How can we stand against them? Together, Kim said, stepping forward. Earth alone could fight them to a standstill. Earth and 37 allies could do much more. We bring technology, said an alien with blue skin. The Council doesn't know we have it. We bring numbers, said another with wings. Many on our world would join this fight. And we bring truth, Park added. The truth about what the Council really is. Many worlds would leave them if they knew. Over the next few days, they worked out the rules for their new alliance. Each world would keep its independence. Each would help defend the others. Resources would be traded, not taken. Knowledge would be shared, not controlled. Han signed the agreement for Earth. Then each alien signed for their world. When it was done, they had created something new in the galaxy. Word reached the Council quickly. In their grand chamber, Trellis raged. This cannot be allowed. A rival alliance. Earth must be destroyed now, before more join them. But others in the Council were less sure. Some worlds were already asking questions. Some were refusing Council orders. The neat, controlled galaxy was coming apart. In a dark room above the Council chamber, the overseers watched with cold eyes. These were the true masters of the Council, ancient beings who had controlled the galaxy from shadows for millennia. The humans have caused too much trouble, one said. Trellis has failed us. Replace it, said another. Find someone who can solve this problem. But they knew it might be too late. Something had changed. A spark had been lit. Back on Earth, Han stood on a hill at night, looking up at the stars. Park joined him. Do you think it will work? She asked. Our confederation. I don't know, Han admitted. But we have to try. For the first time in thousands of years, worlds are coming together by choice, not force. That makes all the difference. Kim walked up to join them. The Council is massing ships. They won't give up easily. We knew they wouldn't, Han said. But neither will we. Humans are stubborn that way. They stood together, 3 humans who had changed the galaxy, and watched as new ally ships twinkled in the night sky above Earth. Not an ending, but a beginning.